How dry it is. We have gone days and days and days without rain. Amarillo, Texas, 103 days without rain. So you are right there in the middle of this fire alert for today. We've got the red flag warnings that are up Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Wichita, Springfield, Missouri. We are also in it as well. So here's a look at one of the factors. We look at the relative humidity. You know, I always talk about dew points, and in general, I think dew points are useful, but the RH, or relative humidity, is really critical when it comes to fire forecasting. And when it drops below 10%, which we might even see this afternoon, you really get into those critical levels. Temperatures are going up. It's finally warming up, right? I know we needed a warm up here, but the air is very dry. The dew points are low, and when there's a big spread between the temperature and the dew point, that's your low RH, and that's going to happen this afternoon. Not to mention the winds are going to kick up. It's a south wind. This is what's helping to warm us up today, this strong south wind, but it's also going to elevate the fire risk, and we'll especially see that, I think, across Kansas and Oklahoma, matching up with those areas where the red flag warnings are. Plus the drought situation. So we have about 60% of the entire country actually with abnormally dry conditions, but the heart of the drought right now is right here across the plains. You can see extreme levels in the panhandle of Texas and Oklahoma.
Chicago. Let's go to Jen in the lab.
You know, it was really a fascinating forecast situation. I know it was just a mess of a commute and a dangerous one at that, but we had to look back and see what happened. Why was it so hard to see that this freezing drizzle was going to occur in the Chicago area? So this is the radar, and yesterday morning, when it was happening, there was almost nothing on the radar until about 8 o'clock. Well, looping through it again, nothing on the radar, and yet at the same time, freezing drizzle was occurring across the area. Your cars, your front steps, your driveways, your streets, your interstates were getting coated with freezing drizzle. So let's bring up the sky profiler and show you what was happening in the atmosphere at this time. So this is actually a classic situation for freezing drizzle or flurries or nothing. And we've put up a profile of what the atmosphere looked like at that time. Couple of things that I got to point out. So you go down to the surface up to about 2,000 feet, and that's where the clouds are. That's where the air is saturated. That's where the temperature and the dew point are close together. They're all below freezing. But you go up beyond, 4,000 feet, and the air gets very dry. In fact, you go all the way up to 6,000 feet, the air is very dry, and nothing is happening up there. That's where the temperature, actually, when you go up beyond that, the temperature will be cold enough to produce snow. There's just no moisture up there, so that's not going to happen. So everything is happening down here at these low levels. And normally, when you get a situation like this, you might get nothing. You might get a few flurries, which aren't a big deal, or there is always a chance for freezing drizzle like we saw yesterday, and that's exactly what happened down here. Just a very light coating, hardly measurable at all. The droplets were actually so small that the radar couldn't see them, which is why they didn't show up. Back to you.
Weekend?
Well, the storm is going to work its way east, so let's take a look at that. So your forecast today is the snow in the west, the Sierra getting some good snow, the Wasatch. After last week, we finally sort of opened up the season with some new fresh snowfall, and that'll continue again with this storm system. Meanwhile, in the east, it's all about the warm up, close to 60 in Atlanta and Nashville, looking good. Florida looking great as well, but enjoy it because we are going to have some rain big time coming in this weekend. Temperatures in Chicago hit 50. New York, we're 40 by Friday. So all looking good and dry to wrap up your work week. This is a good travel day, right? Looking good all across the east. But then watch what happens. I mean, overnight Friday, it all develops, and Saturday morning, you wake up and it's pouring in Houston and New Orleans. In Memphis, we've got the rain. Showers are going to start to work into parts of Alabama like Birmingham, Atlanta. By evening, rain showers start to pick on up. And by Sunday, the rain is here. It is all rain. Asheville, rain. Charlotte, rain. Greenville, rain. We're all going to see rain. Raleigh as well. Even up to Philly and New York. Look at 50 degrees in New York City. It is rain. But then we got to watch on the back edge. By Monday, there could be some snow working in to the interior parts of the north and east. Snowstorm in this northwest is going to increase the danger of avalanches. So I want to talk about what makes them so unpredictable. I want to start actually with, think about a pile of books. If you have a lot of thin books neatly stacked up, that's pretty stable, right? But if you start putting a big book on top of a bigger book, on top of a smaller book and a bigger book, that's very unstable. And that is sort of the situation you get into with avalanches. It's about layers of snow and also the steep of the ground. So a flatter slope, I should say, requires something to sort of trigger the avalanche. When you have a steeper slope, you sort of get a little bit of snow that moves down. It's a little more stable. But when you have a flatter slope and then you get these layers of snow, the bed layer, the weaker layer, the slab layer, and then you keep adding to this, something can trigger an avalanche. And oftentimes it's a skier, a snowboarder, a snowmobile, all can trigger an avalanche. And you get this snow. It's thousands of tons of snow. It can move at 80 miles per hour down these slopes, and it's of course a huge danger. You can't outski an avalanche. You certainly can't outrun an avalanche. And so some safety tips for you. Don't go to the mountain alone. 90% of avalanche deaths are due to a human trigger. So plan your route ahead of time. When there are avalanche warnings, like there are today actually in the Northwest here, heed them and don't ski in the backcountry. And wear a transmitting device or an avalanche beacon. So I want to take a look at, unfortunately, the fatalities that have happened from avalanches. And you go back here to the previous decades and years. This year so far, there have been 7 deaths. Last year, there were 12. You go back to the season of 2015 to 2016, there were 30 deaths. So hopefully we keep this number down this year. Again, heed all of the safety precautions, and we are going to continue to see, especially in the Northwest, with these big snows and these big layers of snow being very unstable. Heading next half hour for you right here on AMHQ. Nick Wenda is in the studio. He's brought a tightrope, and you know what he always says? Never give up. Well, winter's actually giving up for just a couple of days as we see a nice warm-up coming our way across the plains. We are going to see that warm-up spread to the east. We'll tell you just how high the numbers get. In the west, we've got quite a doozy of a storm with big snow coming in, some big rain as well. This is the weather maker that will cross the country and bring rain to the southeast and the northeast. It's not going to be a mega snowstorm for the northeast this time, but of course there's some nuances, so we'll let you know who gets what, how much rain, and if there is any snow or enough cold air to make it snow in the forecast. Surprised to learn that we actually do get snow in April all the way down into Virginia, even into, or not April, but spring, March, early April, into South Carolina or North Carolina even. So I was looking at some of the averages, and you actually average a tiny bit of snow here. So it does happen. It's just that it doesn't happen every year. So let's take a look at where we're going to be finding the precip. So this is Saturday early in the day, and we're going to see rain to start, rain into Louisville. Indianapolis could be like a rain-snow mix kind of thing. And watching that cold air. So the cold air is off to the north, and Jim showed you where that was. That is seeping in, and as we pile up the cold air, getting more in the vertical, then we'll have that change over to all snow, and we'll see that in Indy likely, Cincinnati, Louisville right on the edge, but looks like more rain. We go to Charleston, snow, Richmond rain, but in western Virginia, we've got snow in the forecast. And just like Jim talked about, it's going to be a narrow corridor of very heavy snowfall where you get it, so it will add up. Look at this. Mountains will help too. Mountains will give us, maybe up to a foot. But even in Roanoke, 3 to 5 inches of snow. Here we go from Winter Storm Uma. All right, it's been like 6 months since we really had any significant rain across the panhandle of Texas, western Oklahoma, and Kansas. This is where the extreme fire danger is today. It's not often we get to that extreme level. So this is real concerning. That includes around the Amarillo area. Ranchers, farmers, you guys have known for months that we needed the rainfall. But now I think everyone is really starting to take notice. And this is an extreme situation. So when we get to the extreme situation, fires can start quickly, they spread furiously, and they may become unmanageable. The wind is going to be a big factor. The ground is dry. We know that. The air is dry and actually gets warm into the afternoon. The dew points are not coming up here, so we'll have some very low relative humidity. Temperatures are going to be hot out there. And this is an area that has been months without much rainfall, if any, actually. So the exceptional drought has now worked into this area. Look at Amarillo. I mean, these stats. We did have a tiny bit of rain February 17th. It really wasn't much. You have to go back to before October for any significant rain, Jim. And now that we get storms, they're not coming here. Texas, if you were just watching, I showed you some of the record heat that's coming in. This won't be record breaking, but we got some warmth over the weekend. And then into early next week, we do have temperatures heading up into the upper 70s. That's warm. But with it comes thunderstorms. So dew points are coming back up. The rain will come in as well. And then when the front comes through, we'll cool down about 10 degrees into your Wednesday and Thursday. All right, so we start with the weekend. And today's the setup, or tomorrow, I guess. My days are confused, but tomorrow's the setup day. Tomorrow's Saturday. We get into Sunday, and then we're going to see that risk of thunderstorms. There is the chance for severe weather. Now, it's an isolated risk. It's not a huge outbreak type of situation, but certainly there is that chance. Look, we are in late March, and this is the season where we start seeing thunderstorms really get going. We'll see that risk into Monday with some more isolated thunderstorms in terms of that severe potential. Rain on Monday much farther north, and you'll see over the weekend. So places that get snow this weekend will get the rain by the time we get to your Monday. All right, so when it comes to the Monday risk area, it's still across portions of southwestern Texas into central northern Texas. Look who's not getting the rain. Amarillo, Lubbock, we're still not getting the rain with this pattern that is set up. And unfortunately, the rain that we are getting is coming in an area that has had some decent rainfall. This ground is pretty saturated. We don't necessarily need it. We've got rain in the same area for a couple of days into the middle of this, strewn about. I saw one report of a family who literally lost all of their bedrooms but one that were up on their second floor. Now, I want to look at where we have had tornadoes tornadoes this year. So this is 2018. This is the states that have already had tornado reports. Yes, we've had one in California, which I know we don't often see, but this will be the season, right, when we get these big upper lows that come on in. And then we look at the south and east. So, states that you would expect early in the season to be active, like Alabama, like Mississippi. We've had 24 reports in Alabama, 16 in Kentucky, 13 in Mississippi. How does it rank in terms of activity for this year, and what are we expecting going forward? Let's go to Jim for that. All right, let's take a look at your forecast today into the Midwest. So today we're going to, I think, watch the moisture return a bit. For now, though, it's very chilly into the area. And as we see everything change getting into your Saturday, first we have rain coming in, and we've got rain into Kentucky, rain into Indianapolis, but then we still have that cold air mass up to the north. So as that drains in, watch for the cold air to filter in. We could see that rain-snow mix for a while. It'd be that battle into the air mass, and we'll watch for Indianapolis to see a change over to snow right now. But again, this is such a narrow corridor of heavy snowfall that this forecast is sort of wrought with error, right? Because if it's 25 miles off, it'll make a big difference as to who gets a significant snow and impactful snow and who gets literally nothing. So right now, though, you look at where that stripe of snow is, just south of Indianapolis, just south of Cincinnati, and then over towards the Roanoke area, just south of there, where we'll get some of the bigger totals. This gets you into your Sunday early morning, and then it's March, and it'll melt pretty quickly. But let's look city by city and get you some specifics.